Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, the Big and Furry Bovine. We have a newbie here on the panel, and this is John. And it's really interesting. John lives only about, my goodness, it's about 8 miles away from here.
5 miles.
Yeah, and he was just scanning the dial one day, so to speak, on YouTube, and found a Forsaken Browns fan doing a podcast, and that's the story of that. And we'll give you. Let's see if we can do this properly. All right. I wonder if I can. It's been a while since I have done this sort of thing. All right, so that's the solo shot. Then there's this shot, and then there's you. This is John, okay? So
all right, I got it from here, Moo Man.
All right, and that's it is great. I appreciate you for jumping in and joining us on the program. That's it's a lot of fun. Today's program, I've renamed since I ran the Twitter on this. I call it that Freddie Kitchens moment. We've had so many of these moments, like the Jimmy Haslam moment was the Johnny Manziel story, right? I mean, that was the Jimmy Haslam moment. And we've had so many head coaches. The Pat Shurmur moment was when the wind blew. He dropped his play call sheet and the wind blew it across the field into Marvin Lewis's hands when they were playing Cincinnati. That was his moment. Every person has a moment, and it's never a good one when they're the captain of the Cleveland Browns. And I hate to say it, but Kevin Stefanski has had his moment. And in television, they referred to this, or culturally, as jumping the shark. And the reference was when Happy Days was a television series all the way back in the 70s. They just ran out of ideas, and they wound up getting Fonzie in one of the episodes jumping over a shark tank in his motorcycle. And that whole thing caught on years later. And hey, Bronk, how you doing? Say hi to John. He's a new guy here.
Hello, John. How are you doing? Hey.
So, jumping the shark is something that happens culturally all the time. And this is the moment that Kevin Stefanski jumped the shark. And what's interesting about it is he did it at his own press conference, and sometimes the best thing you can do is get a guy not right after the game, but to get him the day after to find out what he knows. Hello, Liberty Bell. How you doing? And wait, sunshine came softly through my window today. Okay, so that we're all. But hello to Liberty Bell. It's nice to have viewers. The thing that stuck with me after this game was the very end of the game. And of course, 2 calls, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the other thing was the field goal attempt. And this is what he was asked, what Kevin Stefanski was asked after on Monday today. Do you believe that Charlie Hewlett, the long snapper, may have moved the ball on the play that potentially led to the penalty? And his comment was he didn't. Charlie's a veteran long snapper. He did nothing differently than he's done his entire career. We're in no way trying to draw anyone off sides in that situation. The risk reward is way, way too high. You may do that if it is on the 10-yard line. It's a short field goal. There are teams I see do that, but that certainly is not what we were doing there. So it's like, okay, so I understand that part. All right. Then they ask him, why was the hold on the final field goal 1 yard closer to the line of scrimmage following the false start? In other words, instead of having the holder 9 yards back, it was 8 yards back. And why did that happen? Then he says, this is his answer. That is just something with Charlie and the holder, who is the punter, Corey Bojorquez, that we have to work through. And it's like, that's an interesting question. And I would have moved it forward, and somebody did. Somebody actually asked him the question in a different way. And I'm getting to that. On clarifying if the specialists independently made the decision for the final field goal to be 1 yard closer. And here's Stefanski's answer. No, I'm not saying that. With the penalty moving us back those 5 yards, I think we just didn't adjust accordingly. But those guys are always working to make sure that they have their landmarks correct. I don't believe that was the reason that the ball was blocked. So here's what I've learned. That the holder and the long snapper don't know where to line up. That they don't know how to look at where their, quote, landmarks are. We're all here screaming and yelling about Cade York, saying, this guy sucks. Now you tell me if your snapper and if your holder don't know that they're supposed to be 9 yards back instead of 8 yards back, you tell me that doesn't have something to do with where the ball goes when the guy kicks it? Do you think Cade York, it's fair to him that he's looking at this and he's going, wow, the line looks a yard closer to me? And that is the ridiculous part of all of it. And this is the ultimate Freddie Kitchens moment. This is the moment of jumping the shark. When your answer to a question is, it's kind of between the long snapper and the holder. And it's like, that's why we have people jumping off sides. That's why we have people lining up in the neutral zone. That's why all of this stuff happens, is because there is no real discipline on the team, and there is nobody who is being taught how to play the game properly. And to say then that he doesn't believe that was the reason the ball was blocked, I hate to tell you this, but mathematics, you can make the isosceles triangle, or what it'll be an obtuse triangle. If you had a snapper, the hold, and then where the height of the guy who tipped the kick. And I can most certainly guarantee you that if you put that ball a yard further back, he wouldn't have gotten his hand on it. So to sit there, it's trig. Very good for those who are trigonometric. So all you have to do is draw a line, and you would be able to see that would vastly change 1 yard back how the thing moved.
The announcers, they said it was moved up because the kicker was looking for an advantage by 1 yard.
And that's what the announcing team said.
Yeah.
And the announcing team couldn't even explain why they called a penalty on Dunn, which is, the rule in the NFL says that to draw somebody off sides, you can't do some kind of a jerking or sudden motion that would imitate the snap beginning. Or the play beginning. I'm looking at that footage over and over again, and all Dunn did, that sounds funny, all Dunn did was he moved his foot slightly, and he didn't take it off the ground. he slid his foot slightly inward, which is certainly not a jerking movement that would have made, and it was the opposite side of where the Ravens line jumped. So the thing that was peculiar, you had, their guy jump off sides, and the initial response from the people was they said that it was on that side of the line. Nobody moved. And then what Harbaugh said after the game was that the reason that was a penalty against the Browns is that the long snapper lifted the ball off the ground. And that is a lie. That didn't happen either. Ball never was raised off the grass. Never. So, again, you're never going to get a clear, clarified answer. And according to Stefanski, he got an explanation of one thing, but not the other. The other one was the pass interference against Amari Cooper. And let me bring somebody else in here. Double P. Hi, Double P. How you doing?
Oh, I'm not here for long. I'm just going to share one thing when I get the opportunity. Oh, another thing, too. If you watch, and I've been trying to find the rules about this, when we kick the ball, there's 209. But then once the kick's over with,
159.
the time's just gone. And I was wondering when I was watching the game yesterday, I thought we had the 2-minute warning.
No, they wiped the 2-minute warning out. They wiped it out.
And I was just thinking to myself, we would have had more time if we would have had that along with our timeouts.
That's right. And it was, believe me when I say, they made sure that what they needed to do, they did. Now, Christopher Milton is saying, have you heard about Stefanski having to give his game plan to DePodesta for tweaking? I need some verification from a very reliable source, because I'm reading all kinds of crazy things that we're going to trade Kareem Hunt now, even if it's for a 7th round pick. I'm reading so many goofy things that I don't think that that's true. But I would be more than happy to entertain the conversation if I have proper sourcing for that. So if you have sourcing on that, Christopher, then please, by all means, put it in the chat room, because that would be just one more fish to fry, wouldn't it? So what it amounts to is, and I do believe, by the way, that was offensive pass interference against Amari Cooper. And that is the rules of the game. The problem is we've seen people do far worse than that at that position as a wide receiver and get away with it time and time again. So these are the judgment calls that allow officials to do what they do. And I'll tell you, if you want to see what officials do, I'm going to see if I can, now I'm not sure that I can do this right now, but the big story is the video of 2 officials after the Tampa game getting Mike Evans' autograph. All right.
What?
Oh, yes. I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. And, this is the kind of thing that right off the bat makes you like, well, how does that work? But, and I'm not seeing my share screen currently up here for whatever reason. So whatever that is, I can't share this picture. I really want to. But I will share. If any viewer wants to see this, I will copy this right now into the chat room so that you like that. All right. So, and it's just as broad daylight that they're flanking him on either side and he's signing an autograph for him. And that's not something that is being written about and fooled around with and being photoshopped. This is something that in real time was taken. So what does it really take to fix an official? And the answer is obviously not very much if these guys are fawning on the athletes for certain teams and getting their autographs. Not only is it a bad look, it is the absolute reason why I have been convinced for decades that it wouldn't be very hard to fix any game. And it's a lot easier today because with judgment calls and with gambling money as big as it is on the line for all of these games, it's a very simple thing to understand. It is impossible that all of the blunders that were made or decision calls, all in a row, all went against one team. One took a touchdown away. One took a field goal attempt away, really, for all practical purposes and intents. And that you're going to tell me that these calls were not, that this would have happened to other certain teams.
Yeah.
Not,
the most egregious one, in my opinion, was the roughing the passer that that could have crippled. That could have crippled Brissett for the rest of the year.
That's right.
We would have had to play, Kelly Mons or whatever her name is. So, yeah, it's just grim, isn't it?
Well, Ronald, what made it more, and I'll say this for Amari Cooper. He told the truth. He said, I did something I didn't have to do because I had some separation and I didn't need to do it. But
yeah, good for him. I mean, I
technique
totally
is part of the
agree
game.
with you about that. I mean, totally agree with the back call, everything. That's not a problem. We should have been able to overcome that, but we're not that good. I mean, let's look at the general picture. Isn't it better that we lost yesterday and lose to the Bengals and then clear house at the bye week? I mean,
well, if we'd actually clear house, that would be nice.
Yeah, but if we don't clear house, then the fans should clear house, because I know the NFL is a totally different animal from sport over here in England, but the fans over here for soccer teams or whatever, they're aggressive when it comes to changing ownership. If there's like a complete idiot running the team, they will actually boycott the games. They will have protests out in front of the ground. They will glaze her out, Man United people have done. And it does work. It does actually work if you protest enough, don't show up, don't buy things at the ground. It's not a lost cause getting rid of all these dicks that have ruined our lives on Sunday for the past 23 seasons.
What I said during the post-game show yesterday was I watched AJ Green getting away with this stuff against the Browns all the years he played with the Bengals.
Oh, every single Steeler, like Schuster on down to
just pushing
Antonio
off.
Brown.
Oh, yeah, just pushing off like crazy. And it seems that these judgment calls always go against the bad teams, and I'm not going to put it any other way. The Browns are a bad team and a bad organization, but it still makes me not want to watch. It divests me emotionally because I don't feel like there's a level playing field, quite literally, and one team has to jump through hoops and the other team, But you see, the thing of it is, if that were the case, there'd never be upsets. And, and I'm just saying what is honestly the truth, that the bad, standing that the Browns have within the league and around the league is the fault of the organization because they don't win.
They're hated.
And they're tainted, worse than hated. Yeah, I mean,
love,
Yeah, I mean, you can get good guys into play, but the reputation of the team still precedes them, and this happens to this team and this organization far too often, and it's what makes the sport less interesting to me. Liberty Bell is saying yes, somebody's going to get fired after the bye week. To me, the easiest answers are Priefer.
Yep.
Because if you can't have a return game ever since you came here, if you can't recover onside kicks, if you can't, get field goal
DPJ
kickers
running backwards to catch a punt.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't get a handle on something that basic, then, you don't belong in the league.
We've had nothing since Josh Cribbs.
Yeah, we haven't had a returner since then. And then Eric Metcalf before that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, we have to go back. To
Ice Cube McNeil, man.
The Cube. Well, the Cube was kind of short-lived. He went on to Houston, didn't he?
Yeah, he melted away.
Yeah, there's a good one.
Good one. Wow.
Yeah, so, I think Priefer will go. I wish that Joe Woods would go, but it isn't going to be all that easy. It's not going to be like a simple thing. One guy isn't going to turn this ship around, and it can't be the head coach because there's nobody to take over for the head coach. And the defensive coordinator is insulated in the sense that there doesn't seem to be anyone else on the staff like a strong linebackers coach because, by golly, we don't have linebackers. They're all injured.
Who are these guys? I mean,
well, they're all injured. I mean, and Jacob Phillips now is gone with the torn pec for the season. That's the second middle linebacker, the second green sticker guy who is calling the sets.
Oh, we're dead.
Yeah,
we are absolutely dead.
Yep.
I mean, when I keep saying this, but Taki should not be our best linebacker on the team. I mean, he's a substitute.
Jameer Miller.
Wow.
What was the last really good
last Pro Bowl linebacker?
Clay Matthews.
Wow.
Say what?
Clay Matthews.
Well, Clay Matthews, yeah. But you have to go back into such a distant past that it's crazy. So, I just want people to understand that fixing an official is easy because these guys aren't making a ton of money, and what they can skim off, whatever little bits of money from the gambling action on the games and hand it to these guys, and they'll do what they're told. And DeQuell Jackson would be another good example. Chip Banks, thank you. People will give them credit on the air now for making intelligent comments. I think that it's unfortunate, but bad organization, and it's used against the team.
Oh, Pepper Johnson.
Yeah, but he was far beyond being Pepper Johnson by the time we got our hooves on him. He wasn't the real dealio at that point.
How about Vince Costello? There's a name for you.
Yo, Vinny. When I was a kid, I went to Vince Costello's football camp.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was all the way out in, I want to say Millersburg, Ohio. It was all the way out past Worcester.
That's Amish country out there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It was in Millersburg. And that was quite an interesting experience as a young kid. And Bob Babich is being mentioned by Liberty Bell. And Bob Babich was a better linebacker. I think he was a Charger, if I'm correct, if memory serves me right. And we got him at the tail end. Mike
Johnson during the Bernie Kosar era.
Yeah.
Did somebody say Tom Cousineau?
We try not to. Chris Spielman. Well, at any rate, now all the stories about how the players were screaming and yelling in the locker room after the loss, and one voice that they haven't attributed to a human body said, "There's no leadership." All right. And that was picked up by one of the reporters who I believe. All right. I don't believe that that's a made up story by any stretch of the imagination. And there is no leadership because the guy at the top isn't a leader, and he's nothing like Modell. They're meddlers. They're not really people who are football intelligent. They're not business intelligent. I mean, Art Modell begged, borrowed, and stole dollars. He was the poorest of all the NFL owners. And in that, you end up with a schmuck like that. And, and now we have a guy who never even made the primary money. He just inherited his father's business. They're not good business people. And a lot of them, are not good business people. Yeah. If you find oil in the ground, you end up with the Dallas Cowboys. You know what I mean? That's kind of the way it works. And we're going to go back down here. Oh, there's Derek Frisbee. Hey, Derek.
Hello.
Yo.
Poor Derek. You sound unhappy.
Derek, you got another 40 years of this shit, so get used to it.
Well, it's like I say, the Cleveland Browns, I think they're trying to make the lives of the entire fan base so miserable to the point where they don't want to be alive anymore. That's just my opinion.
And then you have Myles Garrett coming out and saying it's perfectly normal for people to be yelling and screaming. There's no leadership in the locker room after a loss.
Let's look at that. So whoever yelled that out, let's think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Why don't they be a fucking leader? Whoever yelled that out. If somebody yelled there's no leadership, well, why don't they be the leader?
Well, that would be like saying to the troops in the war, if you have a bunch of generals who are telling these people to do things that are marching into death traps, leadership, there is a pyramid here, Yeah. And what I think I don't think the players are screaming at other players, pointing and saying, you 95, you're not a leader. They're saying
they're pointing at the coaches, huh?
Yes, they're saying. They're not talking about Jimmy Haslam. They don't spend a minute in his office, for God's sakes. They're not talking about Dee Podesta or Andrew Berry. Not talking about the front office people, but the people that they contact on a daily basis. That there is no leadership being shown and given by position coaches. Receivers are, when they run the wrong pattern, line up on the wrong side, all of the things that have been happening to the Browns. I think there comes a point where we have some young guys and the excuse is, well, we have young guys and they don't know what it means to be a pro. But we do have guys who have played for other teams and they're probably looking at this saying, well, wait a minute, this isn't normal.
Yeah. This is down to Andrew Berry then. That's his fault.
Yeah, to me, it just is a bunch of athletes saying that this isn't a normal situation and that nobody is instructing them. It's like being in the army, man. It's like being on the front lines and walking into enemy fire. Yeah. And you're like, weren't we supposed to know that was there? Don't we have reconnaissance? What's the story here? And, you rely on the judgment of the people who are in the coaching staff. They're the ones who are supposed to know, and you're the guys who execute the game plan.
I'd rather see passion than these guys taking a shower and going home and nothing happens. I'd rather see passion. And if they're yelling and screaming, if they're pointing fingers, I want to see that. And I think that's how that they care. And I think that's a good thing. I look at it, that's a good thing.
It's interesting that this fixation that we have for the Steelers, that Rooney's consistency through two generations of Rooneys, including Andy Rooney. Why is it that Browns fans are so hung up on all this Pittsburgh stuff? Art Rooney Sr., bless his heart. Nobody wants to talk about the first year Terry Bradshaw, and he was 1-13, and nobody wants to talk about the Steelers prior to 1972. Nobody wants to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers before that because Mr. Rooney was the biggest loser and clown in the league.
Yeah.
They were the worst football team in the NFL.
They were terrible.
I mean, nobody. They had no players. They had losing records every year. Then they hit the jackpot where they brought in Bradshaw, and then they got the receivers to help him out.
And then they got Lambert and Franco Harris and all those.
Yeah, I mean, so they put together a team around that quarterback, and that quarterback had a long career. Then, after Terry Bradshaw left, it was like, what the hell? What the hell is that guy? Mark Malone? I mean, Bubby Brister?
Yep.
What are we talking about here? I mean, and the Steelers were terrible. They were awful. They're as bad as the Browns. That was under the Rooney's watch, and then they hit it big with Roethlisberger out of Miami of Ohio and basically replicated the same success. Now, the Browns, when the Browns go all out and get Deshaun Watson, who is a really good quarterback, everyone cries foul. But when the Rooneys would hit the thing and get it right, then they're fucking geniuses, okay? Yeah. But it can't be both ways here. My feeling is that they have a scheme, they have a system, and that's all well and good. But when they don't have a quarterback, they blow chunks like they do this year. They suck. And, where's all the glory to the Rooney family for being caught with their pants down, knowing that a solidified mummy, Ben Roethlisberger, was playing quarterback for the last couple of years and couldn't even escape his own shadow? What in the hell? I mean, he was pathetic.
Yeah.
He looked like he was mummified. And for all practical purposes, he was so corseted up from all the injuries, he couldn't move. He couldn't do anything anymore. But they kept playing him. That tells you because they couldn't get it right. And now you want to tell me that Pickett's the man. I actually saw some Browns fans on Twitter saying, maybe we should have gone after Pickett.
Really?
It's like, it's like watching Hoosiers. We're going to run the picket fence offense. Yeah. We're going to run the picket fence at them. Give it time, folks. Pickett will either make it or he won't make it. He'll be good, he'll be average, or he'll be out of the league. But just because he's in Pittsburgh, he's no different than Mark Malone and Bubby Brister and Mason Rudolph, and how many others can we name who are Cordell Stewart, and how many other people can we name that the Steelers
Antron Randall L, I think they had for a while.
Yeah, and it's like, if you're fortunate, if in 72, and then if you're fortunate enough in the late 80s, you're able to bring in, or was it the 90s, they brought in Roethlisberger, and you get two career quarterbacks like that. It's like the Buffalo Bills. They got Jim Kelly, and now they've,
Yeah, it is what it is, man.
Yeah, I mean, and in between Jim Kelly and Josh Allen was nothing. Barren nothingness. Everybody you can think of.
Yeah.
They played in Buffalo, and it didn't work out. So you got to have the right guy. But when the Browns go out and spend $230 million on a proven commodity, we have to shit on the Browns. And again, I'll tell you this. He would have been winning all of these games because he would have found people downfield.
Yep.
I mean, that's just it.
Hey, did you talk about the news that the Browns are listening to trade offers for Kareem Hunt and Greedy?
Oh, is that stained pants guy?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't believe that jerk off. He's been wrong so many times. I'm not going to give him any play and any run on this program. If it's so, I want, I need something better than him telling me that that's going down. And realistically, anyone now the Browns put out there and put out on a shingle for sale, they're going to get nothing for.
Yeah.
Especially Greedy. What value does Greedy have after 4 years in the league of being hurt?
It's just foolishness, and it's of no importance or significance whatsoever.
Oh, and Jim, if honestly, the Eagles got Kareem Hunt, oh my goodness.
Well, and good, let him get him, because let him play a part in a role that makes a difference. You know, we have Dearness Johnson, and if you're just going to do what we're doing with Kareem Hunt right now, Dearness Johnson can do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, we could trade him too and play that Jerome Ford or whatever his name is.
And I want to clarify that. Do I believe that Deshaun Watson fixes the team? No, because with this receiving core, it's really bad.
He's going to be frustrated.
And now with Njoku out 2 to 5 weeks with the high ankle sprain, it's going to get worse. And we got to bring up, and Pharaoh Brown has got a concussion. We got to bring up a tight end. The only guy we got is Harrison Bryant.
Wow.
So, no. I don't think that one man fixes the team, but that's the most important position on the field, and he's better than anybody we've had for a long time. And that being the case, I say I'd rather have him than not have him. And the other thing is, I'm seeing receivers open, and Jacoby Brissett just doesn't see them. He doesn't scan the field well. Yep. It's just not his strength. And I do believe Deshaun Watson, he threw for almost 5,000 yards without DeAndre Hopkins.
On a losing team.
I'm sorry?
On a losing team. Where they were 4-12, and he went.
Yeah, he wasn't playing defense.
Right.
Believe me, if we were throwing for 4,000 yards a year, we'd be winning some of these games.
Oh, absolutely. We'd be scoring 35 points, not 19 or 20.
About maybe the defense would give up 36. I'm not saying. Yeah. But all I'm saying is the way this season is played out, we'd be a lot better off with Deshaun Watson on the field. But the thing is that we have no draft picks, and we have no way of getting better receivers on this team because of the mistakes of the past several years of not drafting wide receivers, and that's right squarely on Andrew Berry and DePodesta's plate. And again, I don't know what Deshaun Watson is going to be playing with next year. This year, I don't even care about. This year's over.
It's over. It's so over.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Cavs, man, because it's over. It's
yeah. Well, I still want. I want to see if there is any other. Yeah, let's start talking about.
Why don't we talk about PJ Walker if we want to talk about football? How about him? Let's go out and buy his jersey.
Yeah, it's what it is. And to tie this together with the Browns, and I actually read another thing on Twitter, and I'm not going to attribute it to anybody because, brain damage is a sad thing, and I don't know how the guy got it. But he says, nothing like Cleveland teams blowing leads, because if you watch the Cavaliers play yesterday, they had the game seemingly in hand at the end of the game. And, on a back-to-back, the team really looked gassed. I mean, poor Evan Mobley, my God, he looked like he was just out of gas completely. And Spida, Donovan Mitchell, if you're not familiar, made a couple of mistakes, and that were really fatigue-related because he played a huge number of minutes.
Oh, he played like 40-some minutes, 42.
Which you can't afford to have happen very often. And, they were up, and then the Wizards tied it. And somebody making that comment is like, only in Cleveland. And it's like, God, just stay there. Why don't you move to, if I could put you in a time machine and have you move to the Love Canal, outside of Buffalo, and you can have uranium in your backyard. You know, it's like it isn't the city, it isn't the community, it isn't that. The fact is, how can you walk away saying that when the outcome of the game was that the Cavaliers won? The point is the win versus the loss.
Yeah.
A lot of sins are forgiven. I mean, look, Tom Brady won a lot of games in his career the last time he had the ball in his hands.
Yep.
I mean,
and the Patriots look terrible for most of the game, and they come back and win.
I mean, so, nobody remembers anything except in the end, did you win or did you lose? Cavaliers won. And Lauri Markkanen is looking good. He's averaging 24 points for the Jazz, and Sexton is averaging 13 points coming off the bench for the Jazz. And that's wonderful. But Donovan Mitchell is a tremendous basketball player.
He is the Nick Chubb of the NBA. I am convinced of that, having watched him now.
He's very strong, and very controlled. And
his emotions are controlled. And I love him at the free throw line. He he closes his eyes to like focus or meditate or something. And then he goes up and the free throw goes in. I don't think I've seen him miss a free throw. He probably has, but
he's not the best career free throw shooter, but what he is, he's so calm with the ball,
focused, and
he gets by people, but he can use his strength to body up to finish, even though he's playing predominantly below the rim. And that step back is lethal.
Oh, he like broke ankles. That one open three that he missed towards the end of the game, he just like killed the poor guy.
And look, the guy's going to miss some. I mean, he's shooting 49.3% for the season. I'd say that's pretty good for a guy who doesn't have his running mate on the floor with him without Darius Garland.
His first 3 games with the team.
The system, that's right.
He's like outscored anybody in their first 3 games. So there you go. It's amazing.
This is the best single basketball player that we've had since LeBron James. And again, LeBron is a different issue, a different animal, and the fact that he started in Cleveland, but Donovan Mitchell is a true NBA superstar.
Yeah, and like I said the other day, he seems quiet about it. It's not like all about him. Like LeBron, it was obviously all about him because he was like this gift from some planet.
Larger than life.
He was larger than life. But this guy, he's not larger than life. He's like Nick Chubb. He's just lunch pail, bring the basketball in, score, get your 35 points and leave,
Well, and for me, the thing that I liked most is in the moment where they gave up the lead, and this is the first game of the season at home, and you've got a home crowd, and let me tell you, the crowd was great at the game. It was loud. It was big time loud there, and it's so nice to see a packed house with enthusiastic fans instead of the booing Browns fans. And the reason is the Cavaliers at least have a championship that they hoisted, And people seem to understand that there are some really good players on this Cavaliers team. And I think that they are a legitimate, not only just a playoff team, but I think if they're coached into the system and we stay relatively healthy, I think we're a play deep into the playoffs kind of team. I don't see us in the finals. I don't see that. I don't see us getting out of the East. I don't see that. But I do see this team giving people hell.
This team's better than the Miracle on Richfield team.
Oh, yeah.
Already.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's such a letdown that the game ends up in overtime. And we were playing against the clock as far as our, how much fuel we had in our systems.
Exactly.
And you could see it happening. And when we got the lead up to 15 and then it started crumbling, you could start seeing the gas pouring out of the tank. And it was like, man, how are you going to turn this around? And it's with sheer will and fortitude.
Well, I mean, Bradley Beal was immense in that fourth quarter, and that guy,
and he always will be, because he's got that step back shot. And I mean, you're not going to block his shot. He's really a fine shooter. And the thing is that the guy who came from Los Angeles, who gave us grief last year, help me.
Oh.
Why am I'm seeing his face, but he played for the Lakers. He was like a sixth man for the Lakers, and he's played really well for the Wizards.
Well, the other guy that had a good game was Iheanacho, but he was hoisting things up he was hoisting up loads of shots.
Yeah, and we're going to bring John back in here. I didn't know you were John. John.
He's hoisting up loads of shots.
Yeah,
you need headphones on or something.
Kuzma. Thank you, Josh.
He neglified Mobley. Kuzma,
I think we're getting feedback on this, John.
Neglified Mobley.
You have a second sound source. You may have the show up in YouTube. All right, so I got to mute him. All right, so if you see that show up on YouTube, we're getting that feedback.
Yeah.
So
very disturbing hearing myself twice.
It's disturbing hearing you once.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people have found that over the years. Yeah.
So Kuzma gave us grief last year, and I didn't hear him nearly as much.
Yeah, but he took Mobley out of the game, I thought. I mean, Mobley, they negated each other out.
Mobley's lack of conditioning because of the ankle sprain, and he's not really ready for prime time right now. And he was really out of gas, and they had to pull him off the floor. So, everybody knows but me, okay?
Jennifer Lopez was good last night, too.
So,
Ruby Lopez.
I think the whole thing that was impressive is we were at a low point, a 0 point, and we went deep into ourselves to get going, and then the fans brought it out even more. I got a lot of people.
And then the Capitals, or whoever they are, the Bolivar Bullets, they missed all their free throws.
Wizards, they're the Wizards.
Wizards, not the Bolivar Bullets. Huh?
No.
It's funny they
That's
changed
Gus
that.
Johnson and not the announcer. I'm dating myself again, which I'm a great date. I'm not a cheap date. Yeah. So if you're dating yourself, that's a good thing. The deal is that the fans then lifted the spirits and the energy came back. I'm reading a lot about Jetty Osmond because Jetty Osmond's been playing well, and Jetty Osmond will play well in stretches. And I'm convinced that Jetty Osmond is a good bench player as long as he doesn't have to think. And I'm not being I know
it. Yeah, he's more reaction based, live in the moment. If he has too much time to do his shot, it will never go in.
Yeah, he's one of those people. He sees a lane, he drives it, and he can finish at the rim.
Yeah.
But if he has to analyze, he's like Topaz with an algebra equation. That's and Jack, Mobley is. We were looking for a stronger Mobley who was more muscularly developed, and we're not seeing it. Again, there's two things that need to happen here. One, Mobley standing at the top of the key. You don't want him dribbling down into the paint. That's not really it. What has to be done, and this is the system, and this is what JB Bickerstaff has to work on with this young man. He has to have spots on the floor where he is comfortable doing what he does. He's got that long reach, and it isn't going to the hoop and trying to jam it through. That's Jared Allen. For Mobley, it's almost like Paul Pierce, before Paul Pierce really became more of a three-point shooter, but guys who can get to a point in the paint, not in the lane, but 15 feet out and work their way quickly into a fadeaway and money. It's like what Karl Malone developed when he played with the Jazz, and he went from, being just an under the basket player to really developing that shot. And it's just important as hell to develop the separation shot in this league. That's what we need to see from him next. And part of that is making sure, and it's sure as hell isn't Donovan Mitchell's fault because he's not been here. And the fact that Darius Garland is not on the court and the fact that Neto just came here this year makes it difficult. But the point guards, the ball handlers have to get the ball to him in a place where he is established to do what he's capable of doing rather than putting the ball on the floor where he's prone to making mistakes. So I think
Mobley mostly got the ball on rebounds yesterday. He didn't, and didn't really see much of the ball on the offensive end.
And I agree, Double P. He wasn't backing anyone down, but again, you got to give him a situation where he has the ability to face up. He's not a back down player because he's not big and strong enough just to back people on. He's not going to barrel his way in like Shaquille O'Neal. He's not going to do what Jared Allen does. He's, you got to give him the face up, and then he can go in, get to a favorite spot very quickly and be deadly because he's got the shooter's touch. He's got all of the tools, but you got to put him in the right situation. And I think that's going to be the challenge as far as the Cavaliers are concerned. But I mean, it's okay. They won. And
the other amazing thing was all the charging calls that Kevin Love threw again. Night. And he's like ancient, and he's out there getting charging calls.
That's a different kind of leadership, and he's a necessary component for a young team, and he's having a good time. And we know one thing about K-Love, when he gets down in the dumps, and I'm not just referring to his known depression problems, but I mean, he had a period with the Cavaliers where he was just not a happy camper, but he's having fun playing basketball. He's contributing, and it's not crippling him, at least not yet. And he played a full season last year with limited minutes, and he's kept himself in good shape. He can shoot the ball. He can still rebound, even though he doesn't have much verticality. He can still rebound, Yeah,
the instincts are never going to go away. But if you put him out there in the middle of the second quarter against the other teams, like crap players, he's usually going to eat them up. He'll have open shots to make. So
I mean, it's great because you got to win, and you've played the Raptors tough, and you whipped on the Bulls, and then you came back on a back-to-back and showed the tenacity to win an OT. That's a good first three games. And it doesn't get any easier. I think tomorrow we got the Orlando Magic, who are actually playing good basketball, pretty good basketball right now. But again, I think what you're going to see is this Cavaliers team getting stronger as the year progresses, assuming they stay healthy. And you're seeing a change to the guard. You're seeing all hell breaking loose with the Lakers, who can't hit the broadside of a barn. And you're going to start seeing, I think, teams like the Bucks, even though Giannis is still, of course, a wonderful player, I think they're getting a little long in the tooth.
They're going to fade.
They're getting long in the tooth. And I think that where you really got to look out is for people like the Boston Celtics, who have younger players, and, they're not going to run out of gas. And it's... And Double P brings up another point. The Isaac Okoro thing is going to be very difficult because the tempo and pace of the game is such that he rushes his shots, and he just everything that he works on when he's on the floor by himself, it's different when you're out there on the floor in full motion and speed. It's
he needs like sports psychology. He's like the exact opposite of Donovan Mitchell as far as being calm and composed. He is
right.
Like, he needs to work on the mental side of the game, I think.
We're still a 3 short is what it amounts to.
Yeah.
And Karis LeVert, is not a high percentage shooter.
Yeah, he's consistently inconsistent. So you go.
But with him, he at least looks better, but he has a history of getting hurt. It was funny when somebody was mentioning to me that Markkanen is doing really well through 3 games. Markkanen has a history of getting hurt all the time.
Yeah.
And so does Karis LeVert. So,
that great play that Robin Lopez. That was like something I would do if I was playing basketball.
You know what that was? That was the ultimate horse shot, but actually in a real game.
Yeah.
I was laughing my ass off.
Only a mascot tries that sort of shot.
Yeah, that was interesting. I would be remiss if I didn't mention by the end of the show that the Yankees were swept. And
somebody check out Bob Costas, make sure he's okay.
He's butthurt. But the Yankees.
I had to troll today. There's idiot fans of the Yankees that are worried about Aaron Judge going away on free agency. I go, that's ironic considering that you literally signed hundreds of people from poorer teams on free agency. You dickheads.
I mean, do you really think that he could get anywhere near the money he's going to get in New York and have the adulation? No.
What's he going to do? Go White Sox or something? Come on.
I don't see them winning World Series with Aaron Judge, and the fact of the matter is that $240+ million payroll blanked. They didn't hit.
Yeah,
they didn't do shit, and they barely beat the Guardians. And the Guardians, to be very honest, when the season began, I don't think anyone even thought they would even be in the equation. They damn near beat the Yankees. What does that tell you?
So the Guardians were better than I thought they were going to be. So
yeah, the Yankees just some people say they choked, and I'll just say they don't.
They suck.
Well, I mean, and it's so funny, if small ball's a bad thing, but live and die by the home run. If you don't make contact, there ain't going to be no home runs.
Yeah.
And and then this, and I know that this was this could be a harbinger. The Pelicans lost Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson to injuries in their loss to the Jazz. Williamson took a hard fall with 8:07 left in the fourth quarter when his dunk attempt was blocked by Jordan Clarkson, who's a guard. Williamson, who had just blocked Clarkson's shot on the other end, thought he had a breakaway slam, cocked the ball back with his left hand, and Clarkson was able to get his hand on the ball.
You mean Clarkson hustled down the court
to play defense? Who'd have thunk?
Somebody, you gotta find that clip and show it because he never did that when he played for Cleveland. Jesus.
Yeah, and Williams ended up taking a fall, landing on his ass, which is at least padded. After the game, they took him out of the game 6 seconds after that. He tried to check himself back in. It didn't work. They're saying it isn't that bad a thing. They're saying, though, that it's a bruised kind of thing, and he's going to, but if it's not one thing, it's another. Zion will not play a full season because he hasn't yet, and he's not changed the strength of his legs. The same thing is going to happen to him over and over and over again. And that's the Pelicans' problem. They're married to Zion, and Zion can't stay healthy.
Yeah, he ain't going to lead them to the promised land.
Yeah, here's my baseball guy here, Rick May. Look at that. 50 strikeouts in 4 games.
That's awesome.
That's contact.
Exciting. That is great television.
No long ball. That's all or nothing.
In a way, there's part of me that's kind of grateful that the Guardians season finally ended when it did, so that we didn't have to watch any more baseball. So I've like totally it could like go away and I wouldn't care now.
A couple of years ago, the Cavaliers started out their season, and I want to say they were like 4-2, and it was like, and everyone knew they were a tank team, and and there's a Beast Girl saying Utah said fuck tanking, and no, they're 3-0, and they're gonna pay for this. Organization is gonna pay for this. They gave away every good player they had. And this is an illusion, and you wait. It's what happened to the Cavaliers too. Everyone's excited at first. Oh, we're new and we're together, and then pretty soon, reality jumps in. The beginning of the year, there are a lot of teams who, just only a few preseason games. It's not that much ready time, and a lot of teams are going to look worse in the beginning of the year. And then settle in. A lot of the veteran teams won't get settled in until after 10, 15 games. And then other teams will get off to a good start. And then all of a sudden, once everyone gets their feet under them and their legs under them, Utah is going to get ass raped.
Well,
That's what's going to happen.
Ass rape reference. Well, that was like a bit like the second coming of LeBron after the championship. We had seasons there in 17 and 18 where we were like shit until January. We would be like playing 500 ball, and LeBron, was it the last year he was here? Did we like qualified 4th or 5th or something in the playoffs?
Right.
So even we had like with LeBron, we didn't always have good starts to the season.
But I just wanted to point out before we get out of here that something that I said before the season, and everybody always, when it was not clear what we were doing with Deshaun Watson and nobody knew that we were really in the running for that, it was like, well, obviously Baker Mayfield isn't going to be the Browns quarterback. And everyone's like, get Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan
has been benched. He's been benched by the Colts. They've benched him. And that Sam Ellinger
the Texas guy. I actually kind of like him.
Yeah,
I think he's got some skill.
Going to play the rest of the season. So all I have to say about Matt Ryan, Old Man River, he just keep rolling along.
Okay.
I mean, that wasn't the answer to the Browns' problems either.
No,
everybody's got an idea,
PJ Walker. But anyway, does Peter Ellis watch basketball? I mean, we could have.
I'm sure
him,
he does. He has nothing else to do.
We could have him like give a Peter Ellis play the game last night for the Cavs game. So he's not watching the Browns anymore because he's in heaven. He doesn't have to watch the Browns.
Oh, I've seen Tom Watson. I've seen Tom Watson pitch it in from way off the green after he hits a terrible shot. And I remember the one guy. You're going to have to help me out with this one. In the U.S. Open, Hale Irwin. Hale Irwin making an incredible shot. And then Robin Lopez. From the seat of his pants. Sometimes putting the ball in the hole is putting it in the hole. And how it gets there, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. I mean, and that's, again, a little luck goes a long way. What can I tell you?
Oh, it's the Battle of Ohio next Monday night. Oh, my God. I'm not going to watch it. Dunkirky.
I don't even want to. I'm not going to be doing a halftime and post-game show.
I'm not watching it.
I'll watch it because I have to talk about it.
But I'll watch it the following day. Yeah.
I need my beauty sleep,
Yeah.
And somebody was ripping on me, man, in the comments after yesterday's show. He was ripping me because, I was just making fun of Kevin Harlan, But I mean, it really, the one play that he called a touchdown and he was the last man in the stadium. It's like, it was incomplete, dude. The ball bounced off the ground. It's like, hello.
Hello. McFly.
Yes! Yes, it's a touchdown. He's going. It's just so funny. Speech impediments are funny. Everybody, thanks a lot for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. John, out there in the meadows down here in Sarasota, Florida, thanks for joining us. Bronk, always. Derek Frisbee, I know how hard it is, Derek, and you're so young. Oh, you've got a long ways to go.
We need to cleanse Derek so that he doesn't get too depressed. We need the intervention with Derek.
All right, before we go, you want an Al Michaels Browns call. Can you find another way to lose? Yes!
Do you believe in shitstorm?
Do you believe the NFL is fixed? Yes! Oh, my God, help us. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back again Friday. Until then, hasta la vista, past your heads. Good night.
Go Cavs.